Alright, so this is me making a fool of myself right here at the Nairobi Game Development Center, where Usiku Games is actually developed. Welcome, you're right on time for Techfile, the show that discusses all things technology, Usiku Games. But first off, let's start you off with the tech news of the week. Apple became the first company to hit the $3 trillion market value. The iPhone maker's value tripled since 2018 as its sales continued to soar, and it spent hundreds of billions of dollars on its own stock. Now, Apple, the computer company that started in a California garage in 1976, is now worth $3 trillion US. It became the first publicly traded company to ever reach the figure on Monday, when its stock briefly eclipsed $182.86 US a share before closing at 182.01. Now, you know Sony as the home electronics and appliances maker, coupled with a few more. Well, now there is more to it. Sony has pivoted into cars with Sony Mobility and a Vision S SUV prototype at the CES 2022. During Sony's keynote presentation at CES 2022, the company rolled out the Vision S electronic vehicle, and here's how the car looks like. 13 years ago, on 3rd January, Bitcoin officially launched after what's known as the genesis of block was mined. Though the Bitcoin white paper was released by Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudonym used by Bitcoin's creator or creators, on October 28, 2008, many say its mint date of January 3rd, 2009 represents the cryptocurrency's birthday. Despite another ban from China, increased regulatory scrutiny, and wild volatility, Bitcoin has a record year in 2021 on many accounts. This past year marked the start of mainstream adoption for Bitcoin, with several firsts, including all-time highs in its price and hash rates, among other things. Zspace has launched a virtual reality laptop, making history as the first world's augmented and virtual reality laptop. With Zspace, users have the ability to look around virtual objects as if they are real. The position and orientation of the objects are updated in real time as the person moves their head, creating both a realistic and comfortable viewing experience. Cool, right? So Oppo has launched its first foldable phone. The Oppo Find N flagship smartphone is a result of 4 years of intense research and development and 6 generations of prototypes. This device, Oppo says, is Oppo's answer to the future of smartphones, and one that they have been truly excited about since taking on the role as the chief production officer at Oppo. In the past, smartphones' evolution focused on the display panel, first combining a small display with a big keyboard and evolving to today's full-screen smartphones. But in an era where everyone has a phone with similar configurations, the smartphone experience has come to a standstill. Oppo found a way to break through the bottleneck of smartphone displays and once again revolutionize efficiency and interactivity. Now, our research says that half of Kenyans actually own smartphones. The Communications Authority of Kenya Sector Statistics report says that active mobile phone subscriptions stood at 64.9 million by 30th September. Kenyan startup Wowzy has raised a total of $3.2 million across pre-seed and seed funding rounds to help it scale influencer marketing platform across the continent. Launched in 2020, Wowzy is an online marketplace that democratizes influence, connecting everyday social media users with big brands and enabling nano and micro creators to earn money by spreading brand messages via social media. So the startup's self-serve online platform allows brands of any kind and size to create and manage massive distributed messaging campaigns utilizing thousands of real everyday customers and fans who get paid to offer authentic endorsements online for the products they already love. Very well, now you're on the know of what has been making headlines in the tech world, so let's get you informed. I am speaking to Jay Shapiro, the CEO of Usiku Games, here at the Nairobi Game Development Center.
I'm Jay Shapiro. I'm CEO and founder of Usiku Games, based here in Nairobi. We're a social impact game development studio and the largest game studio in Kenya. We moved here because of that, actually. We sold everything and relocated to Kenya. Kenya is my home. We're here for the long haul. because I'm just amazed at the innovation and the speed with which Kenya is developing, particularly from a tech space. And so as an entrepreneur, that's intoxicating for me, but even just from an anthropological perspective, to watch the transformation that the country is going through over the next 10 years is fascinating. Winston Churchill said, never waste a crisis. And I think Kenya has embodied that over the last year, where innovation is really one of the key trends of 2021. The economy has really divided into two kinds of companies: those who complain about COVID and those who have innovated and adapted because of that. And fortunately, I would say in Kenya, much more are in the latter. And I've been amazed to see how the economy has really moved on, and the amount of adaptation and innovation that has happened here in Kenya. We're seeing things in the fintech space, we're seeing things in blockchain for sure, social protection is a part we'll talk about for sure, to the point where there was $2 billion invested in the last 100 days. So it is booming at the moment. I think really there's 5 main areas that I'm looking at in 2022 that I think are really particularly critical. The first one is, I think we're going to see a return to gathering, physical gathering. We've all been pent up for so long in our homes that people want to come to places like this, the Nairobi Game Development Center, for learning and socializing, networking, those sorts of things. I think that's definitely going to be critical. The second thing is really looking at technology for the purposes of social protection. So we have Kenya innovations like Kotani Pay, for example, that are using blockchain to do universal basic income, both in Ghana and here in Kenya, with I think about 3 million people on their platform, which eliminates the graft through transparency. And I think that's really huge. And we ourselves at Asiku Games are launching a blockchain gaming platform in the next year to really increase the financial resilience of the youth in Kenya. It's not so much the skills, but really around resilience. And this is a major focus that CGAP has just announced globally. It's the realization that in Kenya, the savings rate is less than half of Nigeria's on an income adjusted level. We are actually the 3rd lowest savings country in sub-Saharan Africa. And that means that when there are shocks to the system, natural disasters, pandemics, or even if somebody just gets injured and can't go to work, they don't have that nest egg to be able to sustain those shocks. And that's what we're trying to address. So I mean, I think there are some really huge trends, some particularly relevant to the context in Kenya. So for example, blockchain, which I mentioned before, right? I think blockchain has huge potential here on the continent in a few different ways. One is from the perspective of transparency, particularly around the elimination of corruption. As we come into 2022, if you ask the youth on the street what they think the #1 issue is in Kenya, corruption is on everybody's minds, right? And punde mechoka, I mean, enough is enough. We're all tired of this, right? And blockchain creates that immutability and transparency that helps to eliminate that. And so we've seen Nigeria and Tanzania both announce digital currencies, national digital currencies, in the last month. What's interesting is that Kenya actually already has a digital currency. You know, 85% of all transactions in our economy are done through M-Pesa, which has an audit trail. What we need now is for the government to take the bold step in 2022 to eliminate paper cash entirely. Move the country entirely to M-Pesa, nationalize it, eliminate the fees so it becomes our digital currency. And Kenya is a leader in that, but we don't recognize that. And what we need to do is, if we move to that stage, we will eliminate a huge piece of the corruption that exists. Maybe not the top, but certainly all the bottom, because now you have the audit trail. Women in engineering is a huge tech trend. In our development team and our project management team at Asiku Games, we are 50-50 gender balanced. That was a very intentional strategy, and not an easy one necessarily to do. But through doing that, I've met all kinds of really amazing women engineers in Kenya who are fresh graduates or a few years out. And these women have amazing skills, they're driven, and they have levels of ambition that put the men to shame. At the moment, there's not a lot of them. but the more of them that get great jobs like at Asiku Games and become the role models to the rest of the industry, I think we're going to start seeing that real trend sway as they become more and more powerful in the space. So I definitely think in 2022 we're going to see some continued pressure on tech talent, particularly in Kenya. As the large multinationals like Microsoft and Google are entering the market and hiring hundreds of engineers, that's making it harder to find those people. They're kind of sucking the oxygen out of the room. At the same time, we now have a lot of innovation funding coming into the market through Keppel and Sherpa.
Japanese.
That's right, Keppel the Japanese, and they're one of our investors for sure. Sherpa Fund.
They walked out of WapiPay.
Yes, absolutely. Rightly so, I think, if you ask me.
Rightly so.
Absolutely. I think investors need to stand by their morals. But what's interesting is that as those investments are coming in and starting to scale the startups, between those two, it's making it harder and harder to find really great engineers. The schools are pushing them forward. And at the same time, a lot of the really talented people in Kenya are starting to work online for overseas companies. And so that's driving up the salaries. And we're starting to get wage inflation as well. However, the people who earn more spend more, and so it's good for the economy as a whole, and I think it's good for the industry as a whole, but I definitely think 2022 is going to be painful for a lot of the local startups. Yeah, and I think another major trend in 2022 in Kenya is around the area of edtech, and particularly gamification of education going into the classroom in Kenya for the first time. We've done a few pilots this past year with some really great visionaries. John Kimotho at KICD, for example, is pushing the idea of gamification into the classrooms, recognizing how strong it is for educating the youth by making the content more interesting and engaging. So this past year, we did educational content with KSL, which became part of the CBC, and so we did that together with the Deaf Awareness Week in September. We launched a science education game together with Crew and KICD, and then we have maths and science and everything put into our platform called Tizzy, which is an educational platform. And we're really going to see, I think now in 2022, with the budget cycles renewing, a big push in that area to really modernize the Kenya classroom, and KICD are really driving that forward. This is going to sound odd, but I kind of think we're at the dawn of a new era for tech in Africa. KICD, sorry, let me take that back, sorry. COVID. I think we're at a new dawn for tech in Africa. COVID created the opportunity, that crisis, to cause a lot of innovation. At the same time, we're seeing a ton of funding coming into the space now. With those combined, we're going to see unicorns popping up across the continent as we start to solve the problems that exist globally, but using Africa as that testbed. Remember, just before COVID in 2019, we had over 350 million connected smartphones in sub-Saharan Africa. That's more than all of the US, Canada, Mexico combined. That was growing at 20% year over year. The US grew at 1.5% last year. So all eyes are on Africa right now. And as we come out of COVID and the investments start flowing, we're going to see just a huge bump coming into 2022.
All right, so let me give you an icebreaker a little bit. Today in tech history, did you know that this happened? It is not known to many that at some point the internet was frowned at, especially in the early stages of the world's adopting its use. The Daily Mail actually once wrote that it was merely a passing fad and that no one will care for it. Years later, it's become the center where almost every transaction is made.
I just swipe my phone on the chip and then I unlock and it opens up. This is a PDF which is my COVID passport, and this means that it's always accessible for me or for anyone else really who wants to read me. For example, if I go to the movies or go to a shopping center, then people will be able to check my status even if I don't have my phone. If you understand how these implants work, they don't have a battery, they cannot transmit a signal by themselves, so they're basically passive. They're asleep, right? They can never tell your location. They're only activated when you touch them with your smartphone. So this means that they cannot be used for tracking anyone's location.
Very well, now you are on the know. You now know about the tech news, the tech tip of the week, and of course the big conversation about the tech trends that shaped 2021 and what to look for in the future. I am Brian George Otieno, and stay techie. Let's go back to the gaming.